The sound of my dive being announced sent a wave of electricity through my muscles. I was no longer on deck, and now was not the time to hesitate. Stepping onto the board, I felt the granular metal between my worn-out toes, beneath my worn-out toes. As I spun the fulcrum, I rehearsed the dive in my mind and reminded myself of my coach's corrections. Pause in your hurdle, keep your chest up, keep your chin down, and your grip tight. Spot your entry, kick out strong. So I set myself. I took one last look at my coach. It was time. Suddenly, I was engulfed by silence. I performed my diving ritual of taking 3 breaths and raising my heels 3 times. I stepped into my first of 3 steps and knew immediately that my shoulders were forward. Reaching up into my hurdle, I kept my arms straight and slightly in front of me. Pausing as my knee was bent, I stretched downward and elongated my body more than ever before. I felt my toes make contact with the board, and due to overcompensation for my shoulders, I gripped the board with my feet to stay balanced. As I rode the board, I waited for the thrust triggering me to take off. There it was. Before I knew it, I was spinning 7 feet above the surface. Flying, I brought my knees to my chest and tucked my head. Eyes open, I saw the water. There it was, so small and glassy, my entry spot. Focused, I locked my eyes on that tiny spot. I released my knees, which were glued together, toes pointed. My hands floated above my head and clicked into dive grip for my entry. The water was there just a few inches away. Just as quickly as it had begun, it ended. I felt the rush of water move past my head, waist, and feet. Positive I was below the surface, I did a forward roll and sat on the bottom of the pool in silence. The bubbles flew past me as I launched upwards toward the surface. This dive had been successfully executed, but 9 more lay ahead of me. As I emerged, the next diver spun the fulcrum. The meet must continue on.
From above, all blue. Underneath, fish and coral color the seafloor.
The day's color. The lighted landscape of the gentle pines transformed to brilliant black. Out of the moonlight, the yellow giant rises to follow its path. Above the blue sky, the light of the world watches, needing to fall. The shadow dances across the orange landscape, falling to the sky.
Blank, blank, the captain makes an important announcement. Seatbelt signs and no smoking signs turn on. Cabin lights blink out of existence. Outside the Tin Can Bird, dark gray fluffy clouds like an angry god rumble across the sunset in the sky. Flight attendants walk up and down the aisles, checking to see that everyone is strapped safely into their seats. Before the flight attendants take their seats, the Tin Can Bird rolls down the runway, increasing its speed gradually as it nears the end. The Tin Can Bird roars loudly in the ears of its passengers. The front lifts off the ground. The Tin Can Bird lurches into the sky while flapping its wings. When a sense of weightlessness appears, we are free.
Beauty of nature. An old redwood tree raising up hundreds of feet to grow with the birds. Up the pile of rocks, at peace perfectly balanced, down by the river. Beads of morning dew sit upon intricate art, a spider web hangs. The peak rises up and falls again to the trees, the vast mountain range.
Seagulls flying high. A peaceful coastline calms souls. Waves crash loudly here. Fish of the rainbow reefs create new life on earth. Low seas keep them warm. Fierce competition, open desert, an ocean, no safe place to hide. In complete darkness, sea floor glows with unknown life. Many mysteries wait. The water is calm as the whistle blows. We stand at the ready. It's time. My time. We break the water, but it makes only ripples. Some say the race has not yet begun, but that serene moment below the surface makes all the difference in the world. The calm will soon be over. It's time. My time. The splashing, gurgling speed boils the water. Nothing else matters but that wall as we glide through the turn to go back from whence we came. It's time, my time. My mind clears. There is nothing but the feel of the water and the churning speed. Suddenly it's over. We all look up, breathless, to see whose time wins it all, whose time snags the gold. That time is my time.
How to live forever. It has some negativity to it, being set into 6 feet of downward movement. For all that we know, the soul doesn't rise, nor does it fall into hell. It might dissolve into dust, shards of glass, or just stop existing with you. This is true. So then, what can be said for those old men who, Shakespeare, Bach, Einstein, Da Vinci, Van Gogh, and ladies too, like Frida Kahlo, we regularly wake from death? Worm food our ashes, they roll in their graves. When you butcher their plays, their music, equations, and artwork, poems, and life work, they are as dead as chivalry and Elvis. And yet, we have their fragments left behind. Humble as burlap sacks, they preserved no lives, but they still did change quite a few. Who? You. In the eyes that look past today, in the minds that race ahead, in the hearts that know music, they draw fresh breath and exist in abstract concrete. Like legends that live at length, pass toward tomorrow from mouth to ear, the forefathers and mothers of culture will never fade away, will die only when forgotten.
This is about the SAT scores whose average is never quite high enough. This is about every college letter that starts with, "We regret to inform you that you have not been accepted." This is about the 3.9.4 average in English that keeps you off the honor roll. When you buy the $1,000 an hour tutor to teach you word problems, when you max out your resume and schedule with menial tasks for extracurriculars, when you stay up all hours of the night thinking about what you could have done different. But this isn't about you or me. This is about the machines behind the desk who grade your tests, grade your life, grade your existence to determine, are you good enough? Are you worth it? We beat ourselves up over wrong answers, cry over rejection letters, and kill ourselves when we find out how meaningless our existence is. And I am the first one to turn back to the golden standard of perfect SATs, the first one to go back to what my parents taught me as right and wrong, go back to the first time an F condemned me to being the worst in the class. So stop looking for happiness in the SAT scores, because I can promise you that you cannot find joy in numbers. There is no joy in measuring yourself by your GPA or your class rank or by the number of trophies in the display case. But there is joy in laughter and friendship and love and learning for the sake of learning. And I know this poem is unlikely to change the world. It's unlikely to even get accepted to the school literary magazine. But if you happen to be listening, know that those standards are not real because they weren't made by you. I am the Singer's Music folder. I reside in box number 20 alongside a red malfunctioning mechanical pencil and a black performance folder. I am the most used and most abused. My existence is quite lonely. The most excitement I get is from box to chair and back again. Slap! I am thrown to the ground, filled with beautiful compositions like last week's newspaper. I have frayed edges and a torn spine. I have been taped many times over to keep my folds together. My brilliant red, like the magnificent red of a bright new fire truck, is now faded like the color of an old wagon abandoned and forgotten in a labyrinth of memories. I am not outwardly as treasured as the glossily finished black performance folder, but I am infinitely more valuable. Though I may not be acknowledged often, if not for me, a singer would spiral into chaos, for I hold all music needed. I am the keeper of sameness. I am the holder of music. I am forever needed. I am the red music folder.